The sky split open like a rotten fruit. One moment, it was a familiar bruised purple of dawn over New Marseilles. The next, a jagged tear of light seared across the stratosphere. Captain Elias Vance knew that sound, the thunderclap of something big breaking orbit. His coffee cup trembled in his grip as the city's defense sirens howled to life. All units. Condition Omega, crackled the comm in his ear. Unidentified fleet entering Atmo. Assume hostile. Vance was already moving, his boots pounding the rooftop access stairs. Below, the streets choked with panic. Civilians scrambled like ants under a magnifying glass, their screams swallowed by the rising whine of Dominion dropships. He'd seen the vids from the first contact fiasco 6 months ago, how the Galactic Dominion's emissary had flattened Geneva with a flick of its talons and declared humanity a species unworthy of sovereignty. Now, the real invasion had begun. The Dominion ships were grotesque, sleek as knives but pulsing with organic veins, their hulls grown rather than built. They descended in a swarm, blotting out the sun. A voice boomed from the lead vessel, translated through every screen, speaker, and implant on the planet. Asterisk, lay down arms. You are now property. Asterisk, Vance's lips peeled back from his teeth. Property. He'd heard that before, back in the Martian Rebellion, when Earth's corporate overlords had called his militia contract assets. He'd made them eat the word. His wrist comm flashed. Lieutenant Cara Duval's face flickered into view, her dark eyes sharp with adrenaline. Command's gone dark, Captain. Orders. Guerrilla protocol, he snapped. Get the civvies underground and hit their scouts. They'll expect surrender, not scalpels. A shadow eclipsed the rooftop. Vance looked up as a Dominion dropship hovered, its belly irising open. 3 figures dropped, no parachutes, no jets. They landed in a crouch, the pavement cracking under them. Dominion shock troops, 7 feet tall, carapace armored, their forearms ending in plasma casters. The lead one tilted its insectoid head, vocalizer buzzing. Asterisk, you will kneel. Asterisk. Vance drew his sidearm, a relic .45 revolver, its grip notched with kill counts. Yeah, heard that one too. He shot the trooper between its faceted eyes. The hypervelocity round should have punched through. Instead, it flattened against the thing's chitinous forehead like a spitball. The troopers didn't even flinch. Oh, hell. The lead trooper lunged. Vance barely dodged, rolling as a plasma caster scorched the rooftop where he'd stood. He came up firing uselessly as Duval's voice screamed to the comm. Asterisk, Vance, their shield are adaptive. There, asterisk static. A backhanded blow sent him skidding across concrete. Ribs cracked. His vision swam, but he caught the glint of his fallen revolver, and the Dominion trooper looming over him, raising a caster to execute. Then the trooper stuttered. Its shield flickered a split-second gap. A shot from somewhere punched through its throat, spraying black eye core. The trooper staggered. Another shot. Another. Vance twisted to see a kid, maybe 16, perched on a fire escape with a jury-rigged rail rifle, its capacitor smoking. The remaining troopers whirled toward the new threat. Vance didn't hesitate. He snatched a grenade from his belt, thumbed the primer, and shoved it into the nearest trooper's thoracic vent. The explosion shredded the unit. Vance crawled to cover, ears ringing as the kid scrambled down. "Yes, sir." Their shields drop when they attack. It's like a synapse delay. Vance stared at the kid's shaking hands, the rifle's wiring spitting sparks. A civilian, a teenager, and he'd just outthought the Dominion. Duval's voice cut back in, frantic. "Vance, we've got a lock on their command frequency. They're not AIs, they're piloted. And their shields have a harmonic flaw." A grin split Vance's bloody face. The Dominion thought they'd broken 1,000 species. But humanity? They'd only ever made us angry. Above, the lead warship's guns began to glow. Vance grabbed the kid's shoulder. "What's your name, soldier?" "O'Reilly, sir." "Good. Now let's show these bastards what unworthy really looks like." The air in the Iron Dawn's makeshift bunker reeked of burnt circuitry and desperation. Captain Elias Vance studied the holographic schematics hovering above the scavenged Dominion console, his jaw set. The kid, Riley, had been right. Every time a Dominion trooper fired its plasma caster, its shield flickered for 0.3 seconds. A heartbeat of vulnerability. Lieutenant Kara Duval tossed a mangled piece of alien armor onto the table. We stripped this off a dead shock trooper. Their carapace isn't just armor, it's alive. Some kind of biomechanical hybrid. Heals itself unless you hit the neural cluster. She tapped a pulsing blue vein near the throat. Riley leaned in, his fingers tracing the jagged edges of the Dominion tech. So their shields, their weapons, even their ships, they're all grown? Vance smirked. Means they've never had to improvise. He flicked a switch, and the holo display shifted to a live feed of New Marseille's ruins. Dominion patrols stalked the streets, dragging survivors into hovering detention pods. His knuckles whitened around the edge of the table. Duval crossed her arms. Command's gone. We're it. So how do we turn a 0.3-second weakness into a victory? A static-filled voice crackled from the comms. Asterisk, you don't. Asterisk. Vance spun. On the screen, a gaunt figure in a tattered lab coat materialized. Dr. Lean Gwyn, once Earth's foremost Xenotech specialist, now a ghost in the Dominion systems. His image flickered like a dying candle. Asterisk, their shields adapt. Exploit the flaw too often, and they'll evolve past it. But their ships, asterisk, the feed glitched, showing a schematic of a Dominion destroyer. Asterisk, central AI core. It's a biological node, vulnerable to electromagnetic pulses. Asterisk, Riley's eyes lit up. We could fry it, but we'd need a pulse strong enough to reach orbit. Vance finished. His gaze locked onto the blinking red, marking the Dominion's orbital command hub. Gwen, can you hijack one of their comm relays? The scientist's grin was all teeth. Asterisk, already did. You've got one shot. Make it count. Asterisk, the feed died. Duval exhaled sharply. Even if we pulse their hub, we'd need a distraction big enough to let someone get close. Vance turned to Riley. That rail rifle of yours, can you modify it to overload a Dominion power cell? The kid's hands twitched. Why, yes, but it'd be a suicide run. The feedback would. I'll do it. The bunker fell silent. Vance didn't blink. Duval, rally every militia unit left. Hit their patrols hard at 0400. Riley rigged the rifle. I'll deliver the payload. Duval grabbed his arm. Elias, you're not just some expendable grunt. If you die, then you'll take my place. He pried her fingers off gently. That's how this works. The streets were a graveyard of broken concrete and smoldering wrecks. Vance moved like a shadow, Riley's modified rifle slung across his back. The kid had wired it to a Dominion power cell, now a ticking bomb. One shot would channel the cell's energy into a targeted EMP burst and vaporize the shooter. Above, the Dominion hub loomed, a grotesque spire of pulsating flesh metal. Duval's distraction had begun. Explosions lit up the eastern district, drawing patrols away. Vance's earpiece buzzed. 30 seconds until their patrol loop resets. Duval whispered. Asterisk, go. Asterisk. He sprinted across the kill zone, boots kicking up ash. The hub's access ramp was unguarded. Arrogance incarnate. Inside, the walls throbbed like a living throat. Veins of light pulsed underfoot, leading to the central chamber. A sound froze him. Clicking. Rhythmic. Dominion. Vance pressed against the wall as a shock trooper rounded the corner, its faceted eyes scanning. He held his breath. The trooper paused, sniffed the air, then moved on. The core chamber was Cathedral of Nightmares. A massive biomechanical brain floated in a nutrient bath, tendrils snaking into the walls. The hub's AI. Vance unslung the rifle, his finger steady as he input the final sequence. The power cell hummed, overheating. A voice hissed behind him. Asterisk, clever pest. Asterisk. Vance turned. A Dominion officer, taller, its carapace etched with rank sigils, blocked the exit. Not a trooper. A commander. Its vocalizer dripped contempt. Asterisk. You truly believe one pulse will save your species? Asterisk. Vance raised a rifle. Nah, but it'll piss you off. He fired. The world dissolved into white noise. The EMP wave ripped through the hub, the brain core shrieking as its connection severed. The commander staggered, its shield failing, and Vance lunged, combat knife flashing. The blade found the throat cluster. Black eye core sprayed. The hub shuddered. Alarms wailed. Somewhere, the Dominion fleet will be blinking out, their networks crashing. Vance's vision swam. The overload had cooked the rifle, and him with it. Burns laced his arms, his nerves screaming. He collapsed against the dying core, grinning as the walls convulsed. Duval's voice crackled in his ear. Asterisk Vance, the hub's down. Their ships are asterisk. The ceiling collapsed. Darkness. Then a hand gripped his collar, hauling him up. Riley, face streaked with soot, screamed over the roar of crumbling metal. Asterisk, not today, Captain. Asterisk. The kid dragged him into a service shaft as the hub imploded behind them. Above, the sky erupted as Dominion ships, now blind, collided in orbit. Vance coughed blood, but his laugh was pure defiance. Told you we'd make them angry. The sky burned. Vance tasted copper and smoke as Riley hauled him through the wreckage of the hub's collapse. Above them, the Dominion fleet twisted in disarray, ships drifting like headless beasts, their command network severed. But it wouldn't last. They'd adapt. They always did. Duval's voice crackled through the dust-choked comms. Asterisk Vance, status. Asterisk, alive. He rasped, spitting blood. For now. Riley dragged him behind a shattered column, his hands shaking. They're regrouping. Look. Vance followed his gaze. The surviving Dominion troops moved with eerie synchronicity, falling back to a single warship. Larger, darker, its hull throbbing like a heartbeat. Zortha's flagship, the Unbroken's Fist. Duval's militia had bought them time, but the streets were littered with human bodies. Too many. Vance's fingers curled around the knife, still slick with alien blood. We need to end this. Now. Riley's eyes widened. How? We just blew our best shot. A shadow fell over them. Dr. Nguyen emerged from the ruins, his coat singed, a Dominion data core clutched in his hands. No, we didn't. He tossed a core to Vance. Their fleet runs on a hive mind. Cut off the head and the body dies. Vance turned the core over. A faint pulse of light flickered within. You're saying we can kill Zora from the inside. Nguyen nodded. But you'd have to get on that ship. Duval's voice cut in. Asterisk, we got maybe 10 minutes before they lock onto our position. Make it count. Asterisk. Vance pushed his feet, ignoring the protest of his ribs. Riley, rig the rest of those power cells into charges. Nguyen, find me a way onto that ship. He met Duval's gaze through the smoke. Hold the line. She didn't argue. She never did. The infiltration was suicide. Vance clung to the underbelly of a Dominion dropship as it ascended, the thrusters scorching his boots. Riley's charges were strapped to his chest. The timer synced. 5 minutes. Enough to find Zorath. Enough to end this. The bay doors hissed open, and Vance rolled into ship's innards, a nightmare-wet, pulsing corridors. The walls breathed. He moved like a ghost, avoiding patrols, following the thermal power toward the heart of the vessel. Then the door. It wasn't metal. It was flesh, sealed with a vein-like lock. Vance jammed Nguyen's stolen code spike into it. The vein spasmed, then split apart. The chamber beyond was a throne room of sinew and bone. And there, looming in the center, was Zorath. The High Commander turned, his faceted eyes reflecting Vance's battered form. Asterisk, you? Asterisk, the word dripped with something almost like respect. Asterisk, the pest who refuses to die. Asterisk. Vance smirked. Yeah, heard that one too. Zortha's claws flexed. Asterisk. You think this changes anything? Even if you kill me, another will take my place. Asterisk. Vance tapped the charges. Maybe, but they'll remember what happened here. The timers hit 0. Light, heat, pain, then nothing. Vance woke to the sound of cheering. The sky was blue. Actually blue, not choked with smoke or Dominion ships. He lay on a stretcher, Duval's face swimming above him. "Took you long enough," she muttered, but her grip on his hand was iron. Riley crouched beside them, grinning. "You did it. The fleet's gone. Zoratha's dead. They're running." Vance tried to sit up, winced, and settled for a laugh. "Told you we'd make them angry." Duval shook her head. "No, you made them afraid." Beyond them, the survivors gathered, their voices rising into the clean, open air. The Dominion had thought they knew power, but humanity? They'd just taught them the meaning of it. The celebration died the moment the new ships arrived. Vance stood on the rooftop of the ruined command center, the cheers of survivors still ringing in his ears when the sky darkened again, not with the organic horrors of the Dominion fleet. These vessels were sleek, angular, their hulls etched with symbols no human eye could parse. They hung in the atmosphere like silent judges, watching. Duval's grip on her rifle tightened. "Friends of yours." Vance didn't answer. His body ached from a blast that should have killed him, his skin still raw where the charges had seared him. But the pain was distant now, drowned beneath the cold weight of dread. These weren't Dominion ships. They were something worse. Riley's voice cracked as he stumbled onto the rooftop, clutching a portable scanner. "They're hailing us on every frequency." And he swallowed hard. "They're speaking English." A voice boomed from the nearest ship, smooth and terrible, devoid of the Dominion's mechanical rasp. "Asterisk humanity. You have slain the unbroken. This makes you interesting." Asterisk. Vance's jaw clenched. "What do you want?" A hologram flickered to life above the ruins. A towering figure, humanoid but elongated, its silver skin shimmering like liquid metal. Asterisk. "We are the Volari. The Dominion called us the Harvesters. We are their oldest enemy." Asterisk. The figure tilted its head. Asterisk. "And now you are ours." Asterisk. Duval exhaled sharply. "You're welcome." The Volari's laughter was the sound of shattering glass. Asterisk. "You misunderstand. The Dominion kept us at bay. Now that they are broken, the galaxy is ours to reclaim." Asterisk. The hologram leaned closer. Asterisk. "Including Earth." Asterisk. Vance's hand drifted to the knife at his belt. "You're not taking anything." "You will not fight us as you did the Dominion," the Volari said, almost gently. Asterisk. "We do not conquer. We consume." Asterisk. The hologram dissolved, and the ships began to move, not attacking, not landing, simply descending, their bellies splitting open to reveal swirling vortices of blacklight. Riley's scanner screeched. They're eating the city, the buildings, the wreckage. It's all just asterisk on asterisk." Vance watched in horror as the nearest skyscraper dissolved into particles, sucked upward into the vortex. The Volari weren't here to rule. They were here to erase. Duval grabbed his arm. "We need to run." "No." Vance wrenched free, his mind racing. The Dominion had been warriors. The Volari were scavengers. And scavengers feared one thing above all else. He turned to Riley. "The EMP core from the hub. Can you modify it?" The kid's eyes widened. "Into what?" Vance bared his teeth. "A bomb." The streets were chaos. The Volari's harvesters swept through New Marseilles like locusts, reducing everything to dust. Vance and Riley sprinted through the carnage, the modified EMP core heavy in Vance's arms. Duval covered their retreat, her shots useless but her defiance unbroken. The Volari ship loomed ahead, its vortex still feeding. Riley skidded to a halt, his hands flying over the core's wiring. "It's not enough. We need to get inside." Vance didn't hesitate. "Then that's where I'm going." Duval's protest died as the ground trembled. The Volari had noticed them. Vance shoved the core into Riley's hands. "Get clear. Detonate when I signal." The kid's voice broke. "How will you?" Vance was already running, straight toward the vortex. The pull was immense, the air screaming as it was torn upward. He fought for every step, his boots scraping against the disintegrating pavement. Then he jumped. The world twisted. The vortex swallowed him, and for a heartbeat, Vance was nothing but atoms in the dark. Then he was inside. The Volari ship was a hollow nightmare, its walls lined with pulsing veins of energy. And there at the center floated the Harvester's heart, a sphere of writhing darkness, feeding on stolen matter. Vance pulled the detonator from his belt. The core in Riley's hands would trigger the chain reaction. The Valari feared nothing except hunger, and Vance was about to give them a taste of their own. He pressed a button. The explosion tore the sky apart. The Valari ship imploded, the vortex collapsing on itself with a shriek that shook the ruins. The other Harvesters recoiled, their smooth hulls rippling as if in pain. On the ground, Riley whooped, Duval's arms around him as the dust settled. And somewhere in the wreckage, Vance grinned to the blood in his teeth. The Dominion had thought humanity weak. The Valari would learn to fear them. The silence after the explosion was worse than the blast itself. Duval stood frozen, her fingers digging into Riley's shoulder as the last fragments of the Valari ship rained down in molten streaks. The vortex was gone. The city, what remained of it, was still standing. But Vance hadn't come back. Riley's voice was raw. "We have to go in. We have to find him." A shadow moved in the smoke. Duval's rifle snapped up, her pulse hammering, until the figure staggered into the light. Vance. His armor was scorched black, his face streaked with blood and soot, but his eyes burned with the same defiant fire. He clutched something in his fist, a shard of the Valari core, still flickering with dying energy. Riley sprinted to him, catching him as his knees buckled. "You idiot! You were supposed to signal." Vance coughed, spitting out a mouthful of ash. "Didn't have time." He pressed the shard into Riley's palm. "This is what they are. Not conquerors. Not warriors. Parasites." Duval knelt beside them, her medic's instincts warring with the dread coiling in her gut. The shard pulsed faintly, its surface shifting like liquid. "We need to get this to Nguyen, if we can understand it." A low hum cut her off. The remaining Valari ships were retreating, their smooth hulls rippling as they ascended, but not in panic, in calculation. Vance watched them go, his grip tightening on Riley's arm. "They'll be back." Nguyen's lab was a tomb of flickering screens and half-dismantled Dominion tech. The scientist barely looked up as they entered, his fingers dancing across a holographic keyboard. "You're alive. Good. I need samples." Duval dropped the shard onto his workstation. Happy hunting. The moment it touched the metal surface, the shard twitched. Nguyen recoiled as it liquefied, spreading like ink across the table before forming into a perfect sphere. Riley flinched. "It's alive?" "Not alive. Learning." Nguyen adjusted his glasses, his voice eerily calm. "The Valari aren't a species. They're a pattern, a self-replicating algorithm that consumes matter to propagate." He tapped the sphere, and it shuddered. "This isn't a piece of their ship. It's a seed." Vance's blood ran cold. "You're saying they're a plague." Nguyen met his gaze. "I'm saying they're the reason the Dominion kept running. And now they've tasted us." The implications hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Duval broke the silence first. "Can we stop them?" Nguyen turned back to the screens. "Not with bullets, not with bombs. But if we can disrupt their pattern, corrupt their code, we might have a chance." His fingers flew faster. "I need time." Vance pushed off the wall, his body protesting every movement. "Then we'll buy it for you." The Valari returned at dawn, not with ships, with storms. The sky split open, not with fire, but with a creeping, crystalline darkness that devoured the light. The air itself turned viscous, tasting of metal and static. Vance stood atop the barricade, Riley at his side, watching as the horizon dissolved. Duval's voice crackled over the comms. "Asterisk, Nguyen's close. Whatever you're going to do it now." Asterisk. Riley hefted the modified rail rifle, his hand steady for the first time since the war began. "We just need to hold them off." Vance checked his sidearm, one round left, the last of his .45s. He smirked. Always hated waiting anyway. The first Valari wave hit, like a tide of shattered glass. They weren't soldiers. They weren't even creatures. They were shapes, shifting and reforming, their edges slicing through steel and flesh alike. Vance fired. Riley's rifle sang, and in the lab beneath their feet, Gwyn whispered a prayer to a god he didn't believe in and activated the virus. The world screamed. The Volari convulsed, their forms glitching, fracturing. The darkness recoiled, the storm unraveling at its edges as Nguyen's corruption tore through their code. Vance watched as the sky cracked open, not with another invasion, but with light. Real, unfiltered sunlight. Riley collapsed against a barricade, laughing weakly. Did we win? Vance didn't answer. He was staring at the shard in Nguyen's lab, now inert but not dead. Somewhere, the Volari were still out there. And now, they knew exactly what humanity could do.